Good morning, everybody. I believe we are streaming. This is really exciting to me to be able to do live streaming and to share this series of workshops with you. And I'm very pleased today to be sharing our very first one. And we're going to be talking about finding your niche and building an irresistible offer. I do love that word. I'm going to get started because we do have a lot to cover today. And I know that I'm very pleased to say Hannah is with me. She will be making sure if you're asking questions on LinkedIn, if that's where you're watching, that she shares those questions with me in the chat. And I will be making time throughout today's session to have a look at those and talk through those with you. So welcome. Welcome to the Empower series. As micro business owners, we have so many hats to wear, and it feels like there are these massive expectations that we just hit the ground running. And I don't know about the rest of you, but even after being a micro business for almost 3 decades, I still find lots of things that we're expected to be able to do quite intimidating and nerve-wracking. And I wanted to share with all of you some ways that are going to make those feel less intimidating, and also hopefully make you see that you are absolutely not doing this in isolation. There are so many of us feeling the same way, wondering if we're getting it right, wondering how on earth we find the right people and connect with them and do that in a way that doesn't feel pushy or salesy or pressurized or not us. Being authentic as we do all of this can feel incredibly difficult and challenging. So today I wanted to start by saying, let's make sure with all this effort we're putting in, we're actually talking to the right people. And I'm going to ask any of you who are joining us on the Zoom link, please make sure you're muted so that people don't pick up any background noise. And I think there will be a few of you today, which is wonderful. So I'm going to start going through the slides. Don't hesitate to put comments or questions in the chat. As I say, I will come to them throughout the next hour and a half. And we will also make sure we get a quick comfort break during that time too. So let's breathe. I've been swimming this morning and I'm feeling really good about it. I hadn't swum for 20 years and we started again about 3 weeks ago. And this morning I broke my record by quite a long way. So I'm feeling very good about myself today. So let's have a look at the first of our sessions. And let's start by saying, what are we going to cover? Well, we're going to talk about clarity versus creativity. Any of you who have downloaded the worksheet that I've put together for today will see that I've gone for clarity, not creativity in the worksheet. I've kept it simple. I haven't put my branding and colours and made it look beautiful. I just wanted it to be really clear and really simple. And if any of you are now thinking, I haven't got the worksheet, I will absolutely share it after the session as well. But if you go to your LinkedIn profile, if you had said you wanted to join this meeting, you will find I've messaged you and sent you a copy. So we're going to look at clarity and how that's more important than creativity. We're going to look at how that helps us in finding our niche. And I really hope that by the end of the session today, you're going to have a much clearer sense of who your niche really are and how to communicate with them. And importantly, how on earth do you communicate to them your irresistible offer? And the good news about an irresistible offer is if you're getting it right, it has nothing to do with offering discounts or making a price seem obscenely low. This is about value, adding value, not giving discounts. And of course, we're also going to have some time for some question and answer session. So I'd like to start by asking each of you to take a few minutes to write down the way that you currently describe yourself, the way that you tell people what you do. We used to call this your elevator pitch. And in case you haven't heard that expression before, the idea behind this was imagine what would happen. The doors of the lift or elevator open, and inside the lift is standing your all-time dream client. You step into the lift and you're going to only be able to talk to them for as long as it takes to travel to the next floor where both of you are going to get off. What would you say in that time that you had that would make them want to continue the conversation? If they asked you, what do you do? In 45 seconds, what could you say? What do you currently tell people when they say, what do you do? Write it down, and I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And if anybody's feeling like they want to share that, you're very welcome to put that in the chat. Hannah's really going to thank me for that. I'm going to give you three minutes to do that, and I'm going to write mine down at the same time. You've got about another minute and a half. And if you're really finding this difficult, if you're thinking, oh no, I really hate the way that looks now that I read it back, don't give yourself a hard time about this. One of the things I hope you're going to come out with from today is a way that makes this feel more comfortable. But no judgment here. Nobody's going to review what you're saying. Just write it down. Okay, so you're going to keep that for later, and we are going to come back to that. For now, I'd like to talk a bit about clarity and why that beats creativity. Now, when I was preparing for today, one of the things I was thinking about is, of course, how do we come across online? And let's be honest, a huge proportion these days of our interactions with others, of the ways that people connect with us and find our business is on the internet. And on the internet, what really matters is that the moment they find us, it's really obvious to them that they're in the right place. The search that I put in to Bing or Google or DuckDuckGo, as we're trying to use more and more at home, is what I was looking for. And I was absolutely astonished to discover that there are approximately 58.7 billion searches carried out every day on Google just in the UK. Just in the UK. Now, admittedly, they're looking for all kinds of things, but 58.7 billion times a day, people go online to find the answer to a problem, to a situation, to a desire, to lots of things we don't talk about, but they're going there for a reason. They need something. They may have a problem or a situation that needs a resolution. And they type in a question. They will be as clear as they can be about what they're looking for. And we have to rely on the language that we're using on our websites, on our social media, to match up to that inquiry, to the wording they're using, and for the two things to say to each other, yes, I am the answer to that problem. I'm the thing they're looking for. And I have to tell you that it doesn't do that by looking at the font you chose or the particular tone of magenta, which I spent about a week fussing over. But it had to be just right. The thing is, the creativity side is not what gets me found. Now, there are graphic designers everywhere screaming at me at the moment and saying, but it's what will connect us as humans. And of course, it's hugely important that when I arrive, it feels like something I want to stay and look at, but it is not the thing that's going to get me found in the first place. And something I always find, I suppose, slightly troubling or concerning when I help train people who are about to start in a new career is that so often the thing they're most concerned about is, does my logo look nice? And actually, the logo should probably be the last bit of making yourself look like you want online. That's when you've got everything else sorted and your clarity about who you are and what you offer is already established. So if clarity beats creativity, and it does, and I'm going to keep saying that, the first bit of advice I would give you is you need to keep things simple. Many years ago, I had my own small but quite successful event company, and I called it Rubidium Event Management. My website was rb37.com. I thought I was so clever. I really did. I thought what I'd done was genius. You see, rubidium is an element. It's quite volatile. It ignites when you put water on it, but it never burns itself out, a bit like a catalyst. And I was an event manager, and my strapline was considering every element. Genius, so clever. Nobody had a clue what I was going on about. Not a clue. RB37. Well, 37 was its number on the elemental table, and RB was its symbol. I thought I was a genius. People weren't searching for the elemental table. They were searching for event managers. So my genius and hours put into thinking about this rubidium and how clever I'd been, of course, wouldn't get me found. It just wasn't simple enough. It wasn't obvious enough what I did. And if you're having to explain to people what the logo means or why you chose that particular site name, it's probably too complicated. Get your business card out, have a look at it. What's the first thing that pops from the card? It should be what it is you do. I remember somebody saying, no, surely it should be my name. When I come home from an event with 50 business cards, I would love to say that I absolutely remember the name of everyone I met. Well, A, I don't, and I'm quite good at it, but I still don't. B, I may have met several of you with the same first name, but I will absolutely remember what you did because I will have asked you about it. So I need that to pop. Yes, I'm in the right place. This is the person I expected it to be. Oh yes, that was their name. Now, what on earth is your logo all about? As I've said, if you have to explain it, it probably isn't working as well as you think it is. And we're spending so much effort and time and money on getting this image to, promote us and make it look fabulous. I'd love you to question whether your logo actually serves any purpose at all. Heaven forbid we might consider we don't need a logo. I believe if your brand is working and people know the name, that's more important than whether they recognize your symbol, your logo. particularly as a micro business. This may not be true when you're a massive brand, but as a micro business, it's your name. It's the name of your business, the name of yourself, and as we've already said, what it is you do. So consider, why did I choose that particular logo? Am I putting more emphasis on my card and on my site on the logo than I am on what it is I do and what it is I resolve or solve? And what I want to know more than anything is, tell me how you're going to help me. One of the things I share a lot with my students about our websites is we forget who our website is for. We tend to write the word I or we more often than we write the word you. And it needs to be the other way round. What we do for you, what will you feel? What will you experience? What will you be left with after working with me? Rather than what am I going to do for you? So what are you going to do to help me? I need to be able to see when I've landed on your site, having asked my inquiry, yes, I'm in the right place. It's clear immediately. You know, when you write a post on your website, particularly if you're writing a blog, Yoast or any other good SEO will tell you, make sure that first sentence and definitely the first paragraph, make it clear to the person who's landed on your page, yes, I'm in the right place. This is what I was looking for. So tell me, how do you solve my problems in that first paragraph? Now I want to explore. Now I want to know more about you. And at that point, it is highly unlikely to be based on how your website looks. It's much more about how it's making me feel. Do I feel like you are talking to me? Oh, sorry. So being clear, being really clear is what is going to attract our niche. I know that when people look at my website and read the way I write, the way I have portrayed what I do and who I am, they know very quickly whether or not they want to work with me. We've looked at my website statistics, and people either stay on my site for over 8 minutes, which is great, they're really exploring, or they're gone in under 30 seconds. And I believe that tells me I'm doing it well, because they're really clear very quickly, oh no, she's not my cup of tea, or oh no, that wasn't what I searched for at all. And that's great. I'm not wasting their time. They're off looking for the person who is going to cater for them. And being really clear like this is also incredibly helpful when we're growing our business. It makes it really easy for us to market ourselves because we're only communicating with our niche. We're saying hello to you, specific group of people. You're the people I have a solution for. You're the people I can help. You're the people who've been looking for these services or these solutions or these products. It also makes it a lot easier for our network to help us. I'm an enormous fan of networking. I can honestly say that every micro business I've been involved with in our family has benefited from having a network behind me. A huge proportion of my husband's work, he used to have a very small micro business, used to have a roofing company that specialised in helping you keep your roof rather than replacing it. And for 5 years, over 80% of his work was by referral from people within our network. So we need to make it easy for them. We need to say to them, this is what makes me specialist at what I am, and therefore these are the people who are going to need and benefit from what I have to offer. Do you know anybody who fits into that little group of people? There was an expression when we were networking that said, if you ask for anyone and everyone, you'll end up with no one. And it is really true. Unless you're very specific about who you can help, my head says, oh, well, I know lots of people, but I don't think any of them really need you. And as soon as you tell me exactly how you benefit a small proportion of them, I start to see kind of the wood for the trees. Do you know, I think I do know somebody who actually could really benefit from that. And what it also does for referrals is makes it very easy for people to be proactive with them. Because as soon as they see or hear a particular situation, they say, do you know, that's what Dinah's been telling us she helps people with. I'm going to tell you all about that person and how you can help each other. And then finally, having this clarity and being really clear about who our niche therefore are makes it much easier for us to do business. Every inquiry that you get is more likely to be from the kind of person you were hoping you were targeting. And the more and more specific you can be, the more you niche it down, the more that happens. I had many years as a trainer and coach where I was working with a very broad spectrum of clients, and I did okay. I was probably what I would call averagely busy. And as soon as I niched and made it really clear where I wanted to focus my efforts, that I was working with micro business owners and that I was working with a niche of people who wanted to train to become a specific thing, to become celebrants, I went actually into kind of a gear I didn't know I had. And it was because they were finding me because I was being so specific about who my niche were. So how do we build a framework that identifies our niche? This has been around for a long time, but I'm doing it, I hope, in a way that is slightly more accessible than when it's done for bigger business. It's based on the 3 Ps: people, problem, passion versus profit, or in alignment with profit. So let me go into some detail about those, and let's have a look at how you're going to start today looking at your niche using the 3 Ps. And we're going to start with people. Do you actually know who you serve best? Are you really clear about who those people might be? And you need to be very clear about this, because if you don't know who you serve best, then how on earth are you going to deliver to the right people? One of the ways I love to do this is think about who my favorite clients are. Who have I loved working with over the last few years, and why? What is it about them that made me say, oh, I wish all my clients were like that? Was it perhaps the way we communicated? Did it make sense when we spoke to each other? Would I have to re-explain things a lot, or did they get it? And was that true in reverse? When they asked me for something, did I understand straight away and say, oh, I think the solution to that is to point you in this direction, or to take you down on this journey? And that's when we begin to notice, why were they my favorite clients? Well, probably because that's when I perform at my highest, when I'm working with people who are like that. We communicate easily, we get along. You need to be specific about why. One of the things I've discovered over the last 3 years is how much I love working with people who are neurodiverse. I suspect I probably am myself, and maybe that's why it feels so comfortable. But I love the way they challenge how I teach. They ask me perhaps if we can do things in a different way. And that makes me feel all the time like I have to be better, like I need to find a new way of engaging people. And that keeps me loving what I do. It avoids it ever feeling mundane. Oh, I've got to get up and do the same thing again today. No, I haven't. It'll be different again today because it's for somebody who needs me to deliver it in a different way. And I find that very refreshing and exciting. So there is one of my niches. Who do you get that excited about working with? Who is it that makes you think, oh, I want to do more of this? Look at their characteristics. Specifically, what is it that you loved about working with them? And perhaps list the things they didn't do that would have spoiled things. They didn't ask me to keep doing this, or they didn't ask for stuff that felt outside my comfort zone or pushing certain boundaries. And there's no right or wrong in this, by the way. This is very personal, and you don't have to ever share this list with anyone, but it really helps you to be clear about who you want to work with. Now, who do you dream about collaborating with? And this one is where you will probably notice good old imposter mindset pop up for the first time. I have to say at this point, you'll notice I refer to the imposter as a mindset. There is a belief that the imposter is somehow a syndrome, and that frankly irritates me. I live with a syndrome. It's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I can be as positive and determined as I like, but there's nothing I can do to make it so that I don't have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. The imposter, however, is something I have control over. It is a mindset, and I can change the set because I am the director of my mind. So when my imposter mindset kicks in, I have to remind it with some evidence that's probably more recent than when I was 12, which is what it loves to come up with, that actually I deserve to collaborate with great people, that I have, 40 years this year of work experience under my belt, and that my imposter can climb back under the set and mind its own business for 5 minutes. But who do you dream of collaborating with? If it was an absolute possibility that you could do it, why do you want to collaborate with them? And why would they want to collaborate with you? And shut that lid again, shut that imposter back in the box. Why would they want to collaborate with you? What would you potentially bring to them? What do you imagine you could create together? Because partnership is all about what the two of you bring to the table. Who do you dream of doing that with? Why do you dream of it being them? They will have certain qualities. You will observe the way they do business, the type of clients they work with, the way they behave when things go wrong. And those things will make you say, oh, I would love to collaborate with you. Look at what the qualities are and why that might help you identify the niche you want to work with. And last, but possibly, I would say almost particularly at the moment, the most important, give some thought to the communities that matter to you. I have to say at the moment, as I feel in particular LGBTQIA rights around the world are going backwards rather than forwards, and particularly in solidarity with our trans sisters and brothers at the moment, that communities who matter to us have never more needed our support, needed us to be vocal and speaking out as allies, even when that feels uncomfortable or a bit scary. Trust me, it is nothing like as uncomfortable for us as it is for them. So please be that person. And when you know these communities matter to you, why do they matter to you? What is it about them that in you stirs something up? I'm often asked, why do you care so much about the LGBTQIA community? I'm a white middle class cis woman. Aren't I privileged and lucky? But I grew up watching my brother in the 80s having to come out and thinking, why does he have to have this complex flipping conversation with our parents? And why does he have to tolerate for the next 20, 30 years our mother constantly saying to me, can't you introduce him to a nice girlfriend of yours? So I watched that, and I watched his friends in the 80s when AIDS was, it was a terrifying time. And the gay community was almost blamed for this. And to have to fight to just be seen as a person who deserved to express their love. And the fact that in 2025 we're still having to do that. We're still having to say everybody deserves their place. Every right is a human right. And the fact that we're still in that space is terrifying. So our communities more than ever now need to know, not only do I want to do business with you, but I think you're the people I most want to do business with. I care about what you need access to, that you can find a business that feels like you're seen. And that needs to be part of how we decide who our niche are. Now, I've mentioned the LGBTQIA plus community this morning, but there are lots of communities. And your community could be the people you go down to the allotment with. They could be the people you love to walk in the woods with, the people you ride with or run with, or go swimming or to the gym with. Your community are people that you feel a connection with already. So of course it makes sense that they would potentially be part of the niche you wish to serve. Now, what problems do you help people solve? What urgent or significant problems? And if you're thinking, well, actually, I make a product that's a luxury, trust me, luxury products often resolve people's sense of lack of self-worth, of needing to pamper or take a bit of time out, of rewarding ourselves. We're not very good at that. And so a product that you might say, well, it doesn't really, I'm thinking obviously of chocolate. I'm always thinking of chocolate. That doesn't really solve a significant problem. It does. It does. I've been with my amazing husband. We've been together for 41 years this year, married for 37. And one of the things he did for me for most of our time together was that on a monthly basis, he knew, he didn't have to ask the date. He knew that that was the week he needed to go and buy chocolate supplies. And to me, that solved an urgent and really significant problem. And it did for him too, because it kept me in a really good mood. So whatever it is that you offer, think about the problem that you solve. And then I want you to think about it from the perspective of this potential niche client. Again, don't think about it from I offer. Think about it from what they need. What are they struggling with? What's overwhelming them at the moment? And how do you help to resolve that? Now, I know when I'm teaching people to be celebrants, and particularly when I'm working with those who are training to take funerals, we always have to acknowledge this is a problem we can't solve. Somebody's died. You know, we're going into a situation of distress where people are at their lowest, they're grieving, but we can still resolve one problem, because the problem they're facing at the moment is, how do I say goodbye to this person in a way that helps me move on, helps my family and those I love get some closure and allow us to process and to move into the next stage of our grief. So even there, where it feels like, can I really help? Yes, by creating a ceremony that allows them to grieve in a way that feels authentic to their family, their loved ones, their community, we are helping them, and there is our solution. Now, it may be that you're coaching, that you're training, that you're selling a service, whatever it is. How is your solution obvious? Do people see this when they come to your website? is that first paragraph saying something like, are you struggling with whatever it is you offer? You've come to the right place. We can fix that. Maybe not in those words, but that's the sentiment that needs to be behind it. It needs to be that clear so that the problem instantly feels, phew, it's fixable. I'm in the right place. This is where it's going to get fixed. And I'd love you to think about, specifically relating to their problems, how are these people going to feel when they use your service? And how are they going to feel when they land on your page with the problem very much as a big thing happening in that moment? How quickly are they going to go, oh, okay, we're in the right place. This is where we're going to get the answers. Now, passion and profit within our finding our niche. The way I personally would describe this is where our passion and their willingness to pay intersect. This is the moment where you start to realize that what you offer, if it's to the right person, the price that you're charging, provided you're not being ridiculous, if you're getting everything else right, the price is kind of going to be the last concern. As long as I say, as long as you're not being ridiculously too cheap or too expensive compared to what they're expecting. But their expectation and what they're willing to pay will increase the more they feel that this is your passion, that this is something you are really good at, that other people talk about you being good at it, and that you clearly light up when you do it. I looked last year at the percentage of people who were booking to talk to me about working with me versus the number of people who actually booked. And last year I had a 98.9% conversion rate, and I was astonished. And I obviously very pleased, astonished, but I looked at why. And I actually asked a huge percentage of the people, why? Why did you pick me? Almost without exception, they all mentioned the fact that we had spoken online with cameras on, and they could see how much I loved what I do. Most of my students who leave me testimonials mention, and her enthusiasm is clear or obvious. When we light up, we get people engaged and they feel more inclined to pay for our service. Now, I would say if your work isn't lighting you up, maybe it's time to think about why not, and why aren't I looking at changing it and doing something else? I say that partly as a funeral celebrant, because we see very clearly in our work how many regrets people have in life. I wish I had done this. I wish I hadn't stayed doing that. And we hear this from loved ones who, the old saying, nobody ever regretted not spending more time in the office. It really couldn't be more true. So if you're not lit up and you're not thoroughly loving what you do, maybe start thinking about making changes. And I don't say that lightly. I've had to reinvent myself, partly due to really big health issues, several times throughout my life. And I've been really lucky to every time reconnect with or find something that genuinely lights me up and makes me feel, gosh, aren't I lucky that I get to do this? Now, what are they already paying for? Maybe a service similar to yours. And why should they change to you? Well, really, the reason they should change to you is because you're better at it. Not because you're cheaper, because you can do the same for less money. I don't want the same. I want better. And you can do it better for your niche than a generalist can do it. So what are the things you understand about this niche, this person, this community, this problem? What is it that you get that means you're better at this than anybody else? And you know what? Sometimes that means you've got to get vulnerable and personal. And if that makes you feel really uncomfortable, fabulous. Fabulous. It should. It is a bit uncomfortable being vulnerable and saying, I do this to help because I've been somewhere that makes it relatable to me. I've been in a situation and overcome it. Be prepared to be vulnerable. It makes you much more easy to connect with. And if you have not heard of it or have not yet watched it, and those of you who have already know what I'm going to say, I really encourage you to watch the honestly magnificent Brene Brown talking about the power of vulnerability. Probably the best TED talk I've ever seen. Maybe the only exception to that is still her. It's Brene Brown talking about shame, which once you get that and you can release that, wow, that changes everything. But going back to how this impacts our niche, when we are vulnerable and we say, me too, it makes us a space where it feels safer for them to say, that's part of the reason I need help. That's part of the reason I'm coming to you. And as micro businesses, I believe that's one of our superpowers. That vulnerability, that edge that says, yes, I'm a business, but I'm a person. I'm an individual with a life who's faced challenges just like you have. That's when we start to really build relationships and really find our niche and where we can make the biggest difference. How do you make people feel? I've asked this already, but I'm asking it again because honestly, to me in business, this has been my key. It's been why people refer me. It's been why people come back year after year after year for coaching. I have a client I've been working with for 12 years, and I know that she comes back to me because it's me. Now, that sounds very big-headed, and that's not what I mean by it. What I mean by it is she found the right person. She found the person who looks after her niche, the place she finds herself in. And so we connect on lots of levels, and I make her feel like the best version of herself. She's told me that many times. And what that really is that when we work together, this catalytic effect happens. And you will know this happens with the clients you love working with. You bring out the best in each other. And it becomes such a joy to serve them, to help them, to watch them grow, to resolve their problem. Now, a really good way of checking that you're doing this well and showing people that they are right to want to invest in you is to have some sort of guarantee for the standard of your work. I'm often told by my husband that he thinks I should take down my guarantee on my Celebrant training website. My guarantee says if you don't absolutely love the training, then at the end of your course, I will give you your money back. And he said, you're bonkers. People could really take advantage of that. Well, in all the years I've offered it, only one person has ever tried to ask for their money back. And when I, obviously very upset, said, what didn't I do? Tell me how I could have done better, please. They actually admitted that it was them, that they had come to the sessions not really feeling like they could be bothered. And therefore, maybe it wasn't really fair to ask for their money back. But I stand by my guarantee. I believe that when we offer something that says you can expect a certain amount from me, and we stick to that, we're saying, I believe I'm this good, and I believe you're going to think so too. And I believe I can deliver the promises I'm making to you. So, with all of this in mind, I'm going to ask that you start to create your own niche statement. And here's a couple of examples about how you might want to word that. The first says, I or we help whoever those people are who struggle with whatever that problem is by providing the solution we provide so they can, whatever the outcome is going to be for them. Now, maybe you need to word it in a different way that says, I or we help people at times of a certain problem by creating this solution so that they can have this particular outcome. And I've talked about the fact that I train celebrants this morning. That one to me feels more towards the kind of work that they do and we do, whereas the one at the top may perhaps be more aligned with a developer or a coach or somebody who offers a product. So I'd like you to take about 5 minutes now to look at this. I'm going to see if I can check in with Hannah whether we have any questions while you're doing that. And I will give you a shout when you're about halfway through. Okay, folks, you've got about 2 minutes left. So you've got about a minute to go. And I'm also aware that we've been unbelievably already going for 45 minutes. So I am going to suggest that we take a 5-minute comfort break. I will still be here. I am not going anywhere. But we're going to, it is now on my little clock here, it's exactly 5 minutes past. So we will take a 5-minute break to allow everybody to have a breath, to stand up, to go to the loo, to grab a cuppa. We'll see you at 10 past. Got about a minute to go until 10 past. Just noticed I've got very scruffy hair today. I went swimming this morning. So by 8 o'clock I had already done 40 lengths in the pool, which makes it 70 lengths this week. But it did mean I didn't have as long as I should have to do my hair. So we are coming back. It is just coming up to 10 minutes. So I hope you've had the time during that break to grab a cuppa and are feeling able to concentrate. We have, where are we? We have 35 minutes left this morning. And we have still got a bit to cover. So let's move on to, and we're still very much focused on our niche, but let's look at how we build this offer. How do you make an offer irresistible? And what you need to remember about your offer is it's not just a service. It's not, here's my product. It's the way that you package the value that that product or service brings to your ideal client. And the way you do that, the way you work out what that is by creating your offer using this very simple value formula, showing where you're adding this value and how you've created that. So your offer is the outcome that your clients will experience, plus the process that they go through to get there, and the experience that they have as a result. And yes, that's all about feelings and emotion and not things that are always terribly easy to measure, but they're the really important bits. So let's break that down a little bit. When we talk about outcome, this is the result that your client is left with. Once they have worked with you, what are they going to have to show for it? So, for example, a 30% increase in sales, that's a very specific, measurable outcome. Making something measurable is really helpful and very good for your credibility. You're saying, I'm prepared to promise you will achieve a result that you can measure, and if you don't, you can hold me accountable for that. Be as specific as you can be about what people can expect. And the more you are that specific, the more confident they're going to feel to spend their money on your product or your service. I'm looking for at least a 30% increase, and they're promising me that. Perhaps you're promising something really simple, like at the end of this, you'll have a completed website. Not that it's simple to build a website, by the way, but it's a simple thing to measure. I asked for 4 pages. I want these particular things done, and you've done them. I can tick the boxes. Yes, that's the outcome that I got at the end of our process together. And as long as it's very clear to them what to expect, you build your credibility and people are happy to part with their cash. Now, the process or the method that gets them there is hugely important, because different folks need different ways of doing things. I have a program that I offer that takes 6 weeks when I work with people one-to-one, but I also offer it in a way that is self-paced. So it's pre-recorded sessions, which means if somebody wants to take 3 months to do it, or a fortnight because they've got a holiday from the school they teach in, we can make that work for them in a different way. And they need to know, yes, that's the one that would work for me. That's how I learn. Therefore, that makes it very easy for them to choose, that's a journey I want to go on. Now, it may be very important to them that they have something that's weekly. You may say, well, we'll have a weekly call together. And in addition, I'm going to give you these tools to allow you to continue to feel the benefit of the work we're doing together when we're not actually working together. Maybe you're working with a family where somebody's died, And you're going to say to them, we're going to meet face to face, and I'm then going to be available to you over the phone, and we'll make contact on a regular basis. Whatever it is, the process has to be clear to them, and they have to feel comfortable with the process. So if your concern is, perhaps my process isn't working for my niche, try asking them, what is it about the process that doesn't feel comfortable to you? One of my biggest lessons working with people who are neurodiverse is they understand themselves better than I do. And this is always true. I know myself better than a stranger does. So ask what they need. And then if you are able to provide it, make sure you're clearly communicating that. And what experience are they going to have? How are my clients going to feel working with me? How is the process of spending time with me going to impact how they feel all day, every day, or whilst we're actually together? Let them know you're going to feel supported, you're going to feel heard, you're going to feel this is a space where you can say what you need. One of my favourite bit of feedbacks from a recent client was she said, I know you're an incredibly busy person, but somehow you make me feel like I'm your only student. What a wonderful bit of feedback. And it tells me I'm getting that bit right. The experience I wanted my students to have is being achieved, at least for her. And I hope it is for the others. But letting people know this is what you're going to experience. Let them know, because it makes them much more likely to want to pay for it. Well, if I'm going to feel supported and I'm going to feel seen and I'm going to be free to be myself, well, that's priceless, isn't it? I had an absolutely magnificent coach for many years. She was my coach for almost 10 years. And the only reason we stopped working together is her niche moved and she now works in a very specific niche. But she said to me once, somebody mentioned to another person, I'm quite expensive as a coach. And I said to her, Helen, you're not expensive, you're priceless. And she really was. To be honest, whatever she had charged me, if I could find a way to find that money, it would have been a good investment. So let's look at those key ingredients of an irresistible offer. And I want you to ask yourself, am I explaining all of these at the moment? In the basic package, the platinum package, whatever package is on my website, am I actually showing these things? And the first one is, what's the outcome? At the end of this program, you will leave with, you will have to show for your time and your money and your investment. Is it obviously relevant? Why is it relevant? And why is it relevant now? Perhaps it's a seasonal offer. Perhaps it's a special program for over a particular time of the year. Whatever it is, why it matters and why it matters now. Now, who is it for? And very importantly, who isn't it for? If you're getting lots of inquiries, but they're not turning into sales, maybe it's because you're not being clear in saying, you know what, if you're this, it's probably not for you. And I'm a great believer in letting people know, I am not your person. You have not found the right person. Here perhaps are a couple of people who might be. And I never have a problem with recommending other people in my field, because if I'm not the right person for you, somebody else will be. But be clear, who is this for and who is it not for? Now, people want low risk, high trust. Wouldn't life be really simple if everything was like that? And what that really means is we have to show them, I am not a risky person to deal with, work with, buy from, learn from. And how do we do that? Well, by showing them that other people have high levels of trust. anybody with a micro business who isn't asking clients for feedback and testimonials, you are shooting yourself absolutely to the point of not being able to succeed as a business. I know it can feel uncomfortable, embarrassing, not really you. I'm afraid this is one of the things we just have to get over. As I heard in a brilliant series I've been watching recently, push it down to your toes and do it anyway. And you have to ask, how did I do? What could I do better? If you like my service, please will you let other people know? And the simplest way to do that is to make sure you have claimed your Google business profile. And if you don't like asking for testimonials, put the link to please leave feedback about the service you have received from me and the link as part of your email signature. But I really urge you to get over the fear of asking and ask people to leave you testimonials. And of course, offer guarantees. Love what we give you or we'll give you your money back. That's how John Lewis and Marks and Spencer built their brands. I remember growing up and seeing from the 70s onwards at Marks and Sparks, if you didn't like something, you could take it back. They didn't even want to know why, and they would give you back your money. So, of course, they did really well. And last but by no means least, keep it simple. Make it really simple and obvious what this is. One of my favourite things when we go overseas or when I travelled a lot for work, which I used to do, was to look in a supermarket at the branding of a product and, not speaking the language, work out if I could tell what was in that box. And yes, of course, sometimes it would be about images, but a lot of the time it was about whether it was simple enough that even though it wasn't my first language, I could get the messaging. How simple are you making it? I went on a website recently and had to choose from various things on a menu. And by the time I was scrolling for the third time, I just gave up. I don't want this much choice. You're making it too complicated. Give me 2 choices, maybe 3. So I'd love you to start sketching out your offer. One product or one service that you offer. What is the transformation? What is the thing they're left with after they've worked with you or after they've taken this product or this service? What format does it take? How long does it last? How much are they going to have to invest? And I don't just mean the price, how much time? This is a 6-week, 12-hour, 24-day, whatever it is, program, service. And what would you call it? What would be so simple that it was very obvious that this was the offer that they were looking for? Now, I'm conscious of time, but I'd really love to give you until past on this. So you've got about 7 or 8 minutes to start sketching out what that offer could look like. You've got 2 minutes left, folks, on this. Okay, so into the last minute, pardon me, and I really hope that you will take this further when we finish today and keep working on this. Have a look at your site and see later, have I expressed this? Have I made it that clear? Do I perhaps need to be rewording this? So how would you describe what you do now? When we started today, I asked you to write down how you would describe what you do. And I wonder, I hope that one of the things that's come out today is that you probably could do that in a way that really appeals to your niche and makes it very clear and very simple. And I'd love you to take a minute or two. And I've said take 3 minutes. So let's take 3 minutes and rewrite that now. And if you feel brave or you feel like it would be helpful, do share it in the comments. Now, next month, we're looking at how to build your personal brand, and it will all start around this, around how you talk about what you do. So take a bit of time now and do that. One more minute on that. So I hope this has been helpful. Thinking about how we introduce ourselves, how we talk about what we do is so important, and it becomes something we do without really thinking. So I hope today has made you think again, how do I talk about this? Am I actually getting across to others the things that I really thought I was? I'd love at this point to see if anybody had any questions about today. We've got plenty of time for this, good 5 or 10 minutes possibly. And I'm thinking about the best way to do that. I'm hoping Hannah has had some questions in the chat. I'm going to sneak in and have a quick look now. Kerry, I believe you've asked about next dates. This is going to be the last Friday of every month, always at the same time, 10:15 till 11:45. Oh, I love this. Helen has changed. I empower administrative. Helen Monument is with us, somebody I have enormous respect and time for. She's a phenomenal, phenomenal woman. And she has shared with us, I empower administrative professionals at every level to step into their full potential through tailored training, coaching, and speaking engagements. I specialize in elevating their skills, confidence, and leadership capacity of assistants worldwide, turning support roles into strategic assets. Wow. Helen, that's stunning. You say really clearly what you do. You explain exactly who it's for. You tell them what they're going to have when they come away from it. They're going to step into their full potential, and they're going to do it through tailored training, coaching, and speaking engagements. I love the way that you've worded this. And I have to say, it's very reflective of what you do. So if we don't have any more questions at the moment, I am going to go on to share with you a date for your diary. I am running my first ever online conference. Now, any of you who know me well will know that I've been involved with events and conferences, gosh, going back to 1991. Yes, I'm that old. And I was, for a long time, I was the person behind the scenes, not being up at the front, doing all the organising. I was an international event manager for about 14 years. And then I have had the privilege for actually also about 20 years now of being one of the people who gets to be speaking on the stage, sharing information, hopefully inspiring people to be all that they can be. And it's really, really exciting for me to get some of the other speakers who I've worked with over the years to come together and deliver a conference specifically for micro business owners. I'm very, very excited about the speakers we've got. They are all people who I myself have learned from. Nobody will be presenting who I haven't watched and been thoroughly engaged by. And we're covering so many topics during the day. So I really encourage you to take a look. Prices are held until the 19th of June at just £75. They will then be going up to 95. So it's a considerable saving. And there will be time to network during the day in little breakouts, and you'll get lifetime access to the recordings as well. So climb the curve, and you can find all the details on my LinkedIn profile or go to climbthecurve.com. And your tickets, as I say, will be just £75 until the 19th of June. Now, the next time we get together for one of our free sessions will be Friday, June the 27th. Again, it's 10:15 till 11:45. And we're talking about how you can establish your brand. You are your brand as a micro business. And most importantly, how can you do that without the cringe or the ick? So many micro business owners struggle with promoting themselves, and it doesn't really surprise me. You know, as children, we're all taught not to show off. then you launch a business and everyone says, well, go on, show off. And you think, but I've been told I shouldn't. So a huge conflict goes on. And I'm going to help next time to look at how you can do it in a way that doesn't feel cringy and that will allow you to really feel, yes, I'm getting my brand established and recognised. I do hope you'll join me. Thank you so much for joining today, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now, everyone.
Thanks, Dinah.
Thank you, Dinah.
Thank you.